So during the SEC meetings, Coach Brent Venables spent a little time with our very own George Stoya over there at On3, the Sooner Scoop Squad. And he kind of talked about his recruiting philosophy and what he is truly looking for. And I think fans need to hear and understand this, because then you may understand a little bit better as we continue to build upon this, what Venables is looking for and why certain players are really, really critical in what he's trying to do. So let's dive into that, because I think this philosophy is going to help us as we're going right into OV season. And there's going to be some feelings hurt with certain players not committing, but some excitement about others. So before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. All right. So Stoya had sat down, chatted with Venables. Awesome article. I put it in the description below. Please go check it out. Very well written and some great nuggets in there. And one of them that he posted on social media that jumped out to me was a conversation he kind of had with, that Venables had with Danny Stutzman. So let's dive into this real quick, right? So Venables talking with Stutzman, and Stutzman basically hit him up and hit him with the, all right, what do I need to do to be a better leader? What do you need from me? What do we need to do to be better? So on and so forth. And that to me jumped out, because for Venables, he basically said it was all about the team. Everything that he was asked by Stutz was all about the team. He wants to know what he can do to better serve the team, not himself, but the team. And that's the type of players he's looking for. And this is kind of this is the quote that he put in here. And this is very interesting. I think you all should listen to. He said that, I still believe in finding guys that may not a lot of other people think a lot about. Venables said, finding players and building a roster that there is a certain percentage or a certain group of guys that have intrinsic values that maybe aren't well thought of in the recruiting circles, but they got the right stuff too. And I think that's the important more now than ever. You're looking for continuity in your roster and guys that are motivated by the right things. And now that right there is really a response to NIL and everybody's wondering, how do you navigate that in the transfer portal and players get an opportunity to make more money every time they transfer, because, the mercenary life is very lucrative, which in real life, the mercenary life is very lucrative. But the problem is you don't have a home, right? You just jump and go as needed, but you don't ever build that. And so for Venables, he pointed out who he was. I was a guy that had to earn my way, So I had great appreciation for that as a coach, and I had great appreciation for guys that value those things. But Bill Snyder, he's been the master of doing more with less for a long time. So again, I think foundationally, not losing your way in the middle of the chaos, being calm and having a clear vision on your standards and your vision and how you build it the right way. And he's saying that in more of a context of, I'm throwing this at y'all to say, oh, be prepared, we're going to lose out on every single prospect we go after. No, we're going to finish with a top 10 recruiting class. That is hands down going to guarantee. I will stamp that right now, right? We're seeing it. But more so that Venables is pointing out that it's going to take time to find the right guys. We'll probably get certain dudes that you wouldn't have known or thought of. And then you'll see them start to move up the recruiting circles because there's a reason Oklahoma goes after them, right? Great example is Ryan Fogier, the offensive tackle and offensive lineman that we got as a recruit recently. I put a video out back in February about him when I was out and about. And, he was a 3-star at the time. Wasn't rated by ESPN yet. He was a 3 on every single board. And everybody's like, oh, 3-star you, not too exciting, blah, blah, blah. But some of you, actually most of you, was all positive responses. And you saw that. It's like, okay, if Beanbo wants him and Venables wants him, there's something there. Well, now he's a top 100 player in the country, right? By consensus and composite. So if him jumping the rankings in all of these recruiting services after people taking time to stop and say, wait, let me look at him because Oklahoma's looking at him. Why does Oklahoma want him? And then boom, guess what? They're like, oh, what? I see. He's got the right stuff. And that's what Venables looking for, especially because today, navigating NIL, navigating the transfer portal, for them, it's going to take a lot to find the guys that's going to stick around for the long haul, right? As I stated, being a mercenary is very lucrative. There's more money in mercenary work than there is in work and staying and committing to a particular team. And so for them, it's finding those guys that want to be a part of that, that's willing to probably take a little bit less than they normally would from the portal. Because again, the portal's always going to be more, no matter who you are, no matter who's getting a check from where. If they get in the portal and somebody else offers them, they're going to get paid more than what they have. So getting people that are satisfied with what they're receiving and building themselves up to go to the pros, that is what Oklahoma and what Venables and that staff is trying to build. And so I wanted to point that out here for you all as fans, because I get a message here and there on a regular basis asking, Jay, what are we doing on the recruiting side? Why can't we land a whole bunch of 5 stars? You know, the one thing that is funny, because I had a conversation with, you know, friend of the show, Ty Hayes, over at Around the Table. We were talking about it on his live stream. And if you recall, and this is something to also keep in mind, Sooner fans and just college football fans in general, when you think about your own teams, when Saban was quote unquote complaining about NIL, or you would hear those sound bites of Saban making comments about it and, you know, saying that this school is doing this and that school is doing that and we're not doing any of that. The 2 times I recall that information getting out was at events that involved Alabama boosters. So it wasn't a situation where he was trying to say, well, we're better than them and we need to do this, that, and we're doing what we need to do. No, it was him pleading to them saying, everybody else is diving deep into this. Y'all need to get ready to open them books up, because at a certain point, the Nick Saban discount's not going to last, right? The Nick Saban discount is going to go away. And now they're in that point. Now, granted, as I said, I talked to Ty, Alabama's NIL has completely changed itself. It's moving up the rank because they recognize, oh, kids aren't just going to come here because we're Alabama anymore. Certain kids that we want, we're going to have to up the ante on it. Oklahoma recognized the exact same thing. Hence why we picked up some players in the portal that we really liked. We got us some proven guys that we can pay up. That 24, that class 24 that we just brought in, it wasn't a cheap class, let's put it that way. But it's filled with a lot of guys with the values that's needed in order to be successful long-term for what Venables is trying to do. Because the portal is always going to be a problem. Ole Miss is going to live in there, right? You know, Lane Kiffin's the portal king, and he's doing things. Same thing with Coach Prime. But if Oklahoma wants to make sure that they are staying ahead or at least competing with the competition, they've got to find that edge. And that edge, as he mentioned, with Bill Snyder playing underneath him at Kansas State, coaching underneath him at Kansas State, as well as Bob Stoops, you recognize occasionally you're going to have to do more with less. But the good thing for him is, being at Oklahoma, he's still at a premier program where players do want to come here. And so you're going to see a mixed bag. And just recognize that when there's certain players they're going after, there's probably a chance that they're going after ones that are really underrated. All players won't work out. It never works that way. But yet again, you have a much better shot if you find guys that are more in the values of what you're looking for, instead of trying to play the full-fledged game that everybody else is playing. If you know that they're only going to come here for money, and you have a sense that they're not going to work hard, especially with Schmitty, that's why we're seeing Oklahoma say, you know what? We'll bow out of that. Y'all can have it. So keep that in mind when we talk about recruiting, especially because we're in OV season. I know y'all going to see that. Check it out over on the Sooner or Later Sports channel. That is where Coop is going to start putting a whole bunch of recruiting stuff up. I'm going to be getting back on it heavy. We're going to talk about some players that we know are big. So hop in the comments. Love to hear from you all. Also, we talked about a walk-on that just pulled up. So you can check that out here, which was kind of interesting that we got that. So check out that video. We got that here, as well as a live stream we recently did. And yeah, we've got more content coming down the line, so we'll talk soon. Peace.